Gerhardus Johannes Mooyman was born in the Netherlands in 1917, growing up in a society that would soon be profoundly destabilized by economic crisis, political polarization, and ultimately foreign occupation. His early life unfolded during the interwar period, a time when the Netherlands struggled to maintain neutrality while extremist ideologies gained traction across Europe. Like many young men of his generation, Mooyman came of age amid uncertainty, limited economic prospects, and intense propaganda that promised purpose, status, and belonging. These conditions formed the backdrop to decisions that would later define his life and legacy. When Germany invaded and occupied the Netherlands in May 1940, Dutch society was rapidly reshaped by repression, collaboration, resistance, and moral fracture. The German occupation authorities encouraged recruitment into German military formations, including the Waffen-SS, which presented itself to potential volunteers as a pan-European force fighting Bolshevism. For some Dutch volunteers, ideological sympathy with National Socialism played a role. For others, motives included anti-communism, careerism, adventure, or social pressure. Mooyman volunteered for service with the Waffen-SS, a choice that aligned him with one of the most radical and criminal institutions of the Nazi state. After entering German service, Mooyman received military training that emphasized discipline, technical proficiency, and ideological commitment. The Waffen-SS differed from the regular German army, not only in its oath of loyalty to Adolf Hitler, but also in its close connection to the Nazi Party and its role in systematic violence against civilians. Even combat units of the Waffen-SS operated within a framework that normalized brutality and dehumanization, particularly on the Eastern Front. Mooyman was trained as an anti-tank gunner, a role requiring technical skill, physical endurance, and the capacity to operate under intense pressure. Mooyman was assigned to SS units deployed against the Soviet Union after the German invasion in 1941. The Eastern Front was characterized by extreme violence, high casualties, and ideological warfare. German forces framed the campaign as a racial and existential struggle, and this framing shaped conduct on the ground. While Mooyman's specific duties focused on engaging enemy armor, his service took place within a broader campaign marked by war crimes, mass killings, and the destruction of civilian life. Any account of his military career must therefore be understood within this context, even when discussing tactical engagements. By 1942 and early 1943, Mooyman served with SS formations engaged in defensive and offensive operations in the northern sector of the Eastern Front, near Leningrad. During this period, German forces faced increasingly capable Soviet armored units and sustained pressure from Red Army offensives. Anti-tank gunners played a crucial role in attempting to blunt these attacks, often operating in exposed positions with limited protection. Mooyman reportedly demonstrated effectiveness in this role, particularly during engagements in which German lines were threatened by Soviet armor. In early 1943, Mooyman's actions during a series of battles brought him to the attention of his superiors. German accounts credited him with the destruction of numerous Soviet tanks during defensive fighting, allegedly under difficult conditions and against superior numbers. Such claims, common in wartime reporting, were used to promote morale and exemplify the idealized image of the Waffen-SS soldier. On the basis of these reports, Mooyman was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross in April 1943, becoming one of the few non-German nationals to receive the decoration while serving in the Waffen-SS. The awarding of the Knight's Cross elevated Mooyman as a propaganda figure. Nazi media emphasized his Dutch nationality to support the narrative of a united European struggle under German leadership. His recognition was intended to encourage further recruitment from occupied countries and to legitimize collaboration. While the award acknowledged battlefield performance as defined by the German military system, it also functioned as an ideological tool, obscuring the criminal nature of the war in the East and the role of the Waffen-SS in that campaign. Mooyman continued his service after receiving the decoration, though like many frontline soldiers he was exposed to the cumulative strain of prolonged combat. The later years of the war saw the steady deterioration of Germany's strategic position, with mounting losses and retreat on multiple fronts. For foreign volunteers in German service, prospects grew increasingly bleak. as defeat meant not only military failure but also accountability at home. By the end of the war in 1945, the Waffen-SS was widely recognized as a criminal organization due to its involvement in atrocities, a judgment later formalized at the Nuremberg trials. Following Germany's surrender, Mooyman was taken into custody and returned to the Netherlands. The post-war Dutch authorities faced the complex task of addressing collaboration, balancing legal accountability, social reconciliation, and the practical limits of the justice system. As a member of the Waffen-SS, Mooyman was subject to prosecution for collaboration with the enemy. His wartime decoration did not mitigate his legal responsibility, and his service in a German military organization sworn to Hitler placed him firmly on the side of the occupier. Mooyman was tried and convicted by a Dutch court and sentenced to a term of imprisonment. His punishment reflected both the seriousness of his collaboration and the broader effort to reassert the rule of law after years of occupation. Like many convicted collaborators, he served only part of his sentence, benefiting from sentence reductions and early releases that became more common as the immediate post-war period receded. These policies were controversial, reflecting tensions between demands for justice and the desire to rebuild society. After his release, Mooyman lived a relatively quiet life away from public attention. Former collaborators often faced social stigma, limited employment opportunities, and ongoing moral scrutiny. Dutch society grappled for decades with the memory of occupation and the presence of those who had sided with the enemy. For individuals like Mooyman, reintegration was shaped by silence rather than public reckoning, as many preferred to avoid discussion of their wartime past. Mooyman died in 1995, by which time historical understanding of the Waffen-SS had become more critical and comprehensive. Scholars and the public increasingly emphasized the organization's central role in Nazi crimes, challenging earlier narratives that attempted to separate battlefield conduct from ideological violence. Within this framework, Mooyman's life is not remembered simply as that of a skilled soldier, but as that of a man who chose to serve a regime and an institution responsible for immense suffering. A biography of Gerhardus Mooyman illustrates the complexities of individual agency within totalitarian systems and wartime conditions. His story shows how personal ambition, ideology, and circumstance can intersect with broader structures of violence. While his battlefield actions were once celebrated by Nazi propaganda, they cannot be separated from the criminal context of the war he fought and the organization he served. Understanding his life requires holding these elements together, recognizing both the human individual and the moral consequences of his choices.